Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time zone it is, wherever you're in the world. It is your Lore Saviour, and once again we are talking about World of Darkness, or should I say White Wolf, because you may be aware, as I'm pretty sure you are aware by now, this might well be old news at this point, is that World of Darkness / Paradox / whatever you want to fucking call them, are bringing back White Wolf from the pits of despair that they chucked them in head first. I did a whole video covering all that, which is going to appear on the card somewhere for you to watch right about now, and one of the things I mentioned in that video is that if there are going to be any further news stories, I would be covering them here. And it turns out that if you tag me on Blue Sky with an article that says they're talking about V5 revised, well, that's going to catch my eyeballs, and we're going to read and talk about this sort of thing together. And I started to read this very article here, an interview with Jason Carl about the rebirth of White Wolf by Rob Wheeland, who I believe has contributed some writing for World of Darkness. They did some of the 5th edition material and then would go on to review said work, which I feel a bit iffy about, but that's a conversation for a different time. And I started to read this very article and I thought, you know what, this would actually be a wonderful opportunity to read it together and talk about my thoughts and opinions as and when they happen. So you get like a sort of a live reaction sort of thing, similar to what we did with all the Bloodlines 2 stuff about a year ago. And my dog Holly is down there snoring, so you're just going to have to tolerate with that, I suppose. So let us crack on with the article. In 1991, White Wolf Game Studio released Vampire the Masquerade, which took the tabletop gaming world by storm. This game about vampires hidden a dark reflection of our modern world eventually grew out to be part of the World of Darkness. Now, World of Darkness has announced a return of a rebranding itself White Wolf once again. This interview has been edited for clarity and combines quotes from multiple interview sessions. Ooh, spicy. Around 8 months ago, I think, said Jason Carl, brand marketing manager at White Wolf, when Marco Berman came on board as the new EP, the Vice President of Darkness. That's quite a neat little name, I have to say. Also, they're immediately calling it White Wolf, which I haven't highlighted properly. So if there was any doubt that World of Darkness is no longer a brand, you have it here. It's now White Wolf. Again. The Vice President of Darkness, as we like to say. We started to look around at the business. It's been growing since the start of V5, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. We have over 45 licensees now. World of Darkness as a licensing organisation is very successful. Lots of licensees are doing great work in creating all kinds of different products. Video games, tabletop role-playing games, board games, card games, t-shirts, pins, more besides, and things you haven't even seen yet. Ooh, which is very exciting to think about. Yes, I'm using exciting for a White Wolf thing. I know, I'm trying to be a bit optimistic here, because we do know about some, like, World of Darkness / Vampire the Masquerade TV series that's in the works. Who knows, all sorts of fucking weird things are going to throw at us now. Because despite my gripes about how they've handled things in the past and how the gearing towards video games, I do think it is important and cool that there are more video games and different ways of entering the medium, because a lot of us wouldn't be here without Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline. So whilst on the surface it does seem pretty cool that, you know, all these different things are happening, just my general gripes is it's just a change of focus from tabletop to the video game stuff, and also I think the quality for the video games has been consistently inconsistent. That's great, but how do we grow the business? What do our customers want from us? What do our business partners want from us? What do our fans want to see from us? It quickly became apparent that we wanted and needed to become publishers again. We wanted to get back into the first-party publishing business, not just tabletop role-playing games, but video games as well as other kinds of products, and we've been very successful creating World of Darkness as a licensing organisation. I mean, I touched upon this in the recent White Wolf video that I mentioned earlier on, that obviously Paradox / World of Darkness White Wolf obviously had a good fucking look about what's making the money at the moment, and it makes great business sense to focus more attention on the video games and all the other bits and pieces that people buying into. But I honestly do think it's cool that, as I mentioned earlier on, that these other branches are doing well and it's not just wasted efforts per se. I just wish the quality was just a bit more consistent. We need sloppy editing there. Yay! We wanted to avoid market confusion, to avoid confusion with our fans and customers. We wanted to make sure that everybody realised that this is a big change. Bringing publishing into the mix again is significant, and we wanted a name that would reflect the new business unit and the entirety of what it does now. White Wolf is the name that makes sense for this kind of business unit doing all these different things together, and it's the name that many of our business partners, many of our fans, many people in our community already know us by, or at least have a positive association with. Let's go ahead and bring White Wolf out of torpor. I mean, again, mentioned in the video that I did last week, is that, well, last week as the 27th of May 2025 in the year of our Lord Talos, calling your brand the World of Darkness, which also has the same name as your in-game universe, was not the best idea, honestly. Like, you could have kept White Wolf. Like, this just further confuses things, but it's good that they are finally acknowledging that after 4 years that this was a bad idea. World of Darkness is a setting much like our own, except supernatural monsters are real. Vampires engage in bloody political battles in the shadows of the cities, while werewolves stalk the countryside fighting a losing battle against the end of the world. What launched the game into the imaginations of millions was the chance to play creatures as they fight control to the monstrous side of the human beings. "You are the monster," said Carl. "That has been at the core of the World of Darkness ever since its inception. It remains a core today. You're playing in a game of a very personal struggle, and you're the monster. You're not necessarily the antagonist or the bad guy, but you are the monster." That was a revolutionary idea when it came out, and it stood the role-playing game's hobby on its ear. Now it's not as revolutionary of an idea, but the way the World of Darkness presents and the way in which it invites you to engage with that idea is still unique. And I'm not going to lie, I agree with all of that, and it's good that Carl has acknowledged that here, which I think might sound a bit weird that he wouldn't do that, or at least to think that he wouldn't do. It's just I'm very used to seeing people online saying that you play as the good guys, you play as the heroes, and I've seen a fair amount of people that after seeing LA by Night that they want to play Vampire the Masquerade as like undead superheroes against the SI or the Camarilla or whatever, which is not the true to its text flavouring way of playing, I suppose. It's not true to the setting. You could obviously play it like that, and I'm sure there'll be many anarchs that would treat themselves as, these undead superheroes, and then you can play into that to the story how, doing all this would break the Masquerade and all the rest of it. But it's good that Carl has, made it very fucking clear that's not what the purpose is. And you're although I would agree that you are technically the antagonist and the bad guys, you're the heroes of your own story, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not the main hero, so to speak. As a mirror to the real world, fans want to know what's going on in the necks of their wood and how to experience it. The original games had a sprawling interconnected metaplot that the current edition moved back into the shadow, not unlike anything that happened with the IP like Star Wars or Marvel. Moving forward, they, White Wolf, want to rebuild World of Darkness in a similar manner by taking stuff from the past that works while not being afraid to explore new ideas that resonate more with modern day players. We reached a point now where the demand for the IP is so strong and so high, and where our players, our fans, our partners are expecting consolidation, I can never say that word properly, and centralization of that IP development, said Carl. They want to go to one place to learn who is the Prince of Milan tonight, right? What really happened in Minneapolis/St. Paul when that stuff went down in the Winter's Teeth comic book series? Are the events of Night Road canon? Are these characters available to us to put in a video game? How should we stack them for our tabletop games? All of that is perfectly valid. I think our fans and partners should expect that from us. But the best way for us to do that, at least with the maximum efficiency, is to bring all that in-house and have that IP development run centrally. Which again is something that I kind of highlighted in another recent video where I had a first look at the latest Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition source book, In Memoriam, where that and a few of its more recent books I sort of begin to trickle in lore ideas, because I've sort of gained a bit of a reputation online for being a bit negative, because I don't like it that how World of Darkness have steered away, how White Wolf has steered away from the thing that has made it really interesting and engaging to not just myself but loads of other players. How it has a rich expanding metaplot, how its lore enriches the world and its setting and makes each of the different vampires, the sex and everything else about it really unique, and it sort of fostered a really unpleasant culture within the 5th edition fan base. And it's actually really fucking refreshing seeing somebody at World of Darkness saying, hey, we hear you, these things are important, let's work out how we can make those video game characters and all these different bits of experiences connect to each other. Like breathing world, as it were, a world of darkness. Because Once Upon a Moon, it was a case that if you included that the video games were seen as canon, like back in the day, OG White Wolf, they would approve everything, and it felt like that they had gone through and they played it, and they had people working and very passionate with the games, which isn't to say that the people who have worked on the video games aren't passionate for them, but it's very clear from some of them that a lot of liberties were taken just to serve the story, rather than serve the setting and the universe in which it's trying to represent, at least in my opinion at least. So it's just that paragraph there is just really assuring that the White Wolf wants to at least go back towards that point in history where everything felt like a world of darkness, that it wasn't just, at least in terms of Vampire the Masquerade, Vampire the Requiem knockoff, because whilst the different clans and the different factions and all the other bits and pieces have their own bits of interconnected lore within those specific factions, it doesn't have like a world-spanning meta plot for the most part. I know there are some exceptions to that, but I'm also coming from this from the angle that I don't know a lot about Vampire the Requiem. And we do know that World of Darkness had previously looked at the Chronicles of Darkness and taken ideas from them, and they were doing it a bit too much in my tastes and opinions. And from this paragraph, it seems like that they're just going to try and work their way back to what made the World of Darkness, which, assuming that they're going to follow through with that properly, is a good sign. But of course, as I've rambled on in previous videos, with my own experiences with the community and the team and all the rest of it, I'm a little hazy just to dive balls deep into this and think, oh, White Wolf means all the good things are going to happen. Because, no, this rebranding kind of happened before, and things being brought in-house when World of Darkness was a company. But anyway, let's keep on reading and see if there's anything else that's going to catch my eye. Like, if there's anything here that's talking specifically about a 5th edition revised edition. The tabletop role-playing game side of the World of Darkness has been handled recently by Renegade Game Studios. They took over publication of Vampire the Masquerade while also bringing 2 other classic games lines to life, Hunt of the Reckoning and Werewolf the Apocalypse. For the time being, the company will still be producing those games with White Wolf as a partner. No immediate change, said Carl. There's no reflection on Renegade at all. They've been a fantastic partner with the World of Darkness. As a publishing business, we need to work more directly with developing tabletop RPGs, which is assuring, because I was a bit concerned that White Wolf were just going to lean more towards the video game side of things. I mean, of course, they may still well do that, but him saying that in a big article site like Forbes, it's a little reassuring, but I don't want to devote all of my trust to them just yet because of one article saying things that I like to hear and it fits my experiences and my enjoyments with the World of Darkness. The demand for the IP is growing. It's really significant already and it's only growing. We need to do more with it. That means we've got to bring more people on board. We've got to build out our creative team. We have to build out our publishing. We have to build out our distribution. We need to be able to manage that business essentially now from top to bottom. What does that British say? Soup to nuts. As a British person, I have never heard that expression before. That's not to say that it doesn't exist, but I've never heard that before. I wasn't expecting this violation of the British tongue. Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition was released in 2018, 7 years into a game when it's often when publishers consider an outdated core book, if not an entirely new edition. As White Wolf settles into its new role as a steward of the World of Darkness, which, again, it kind of was doing that thing already with it being World of Darkness as a company, but I get distracted, there are lots of ways the companies could go. We're going to bring more people into the core team inside the White Wolf organisation, said Carl. We're going to take a really thorough look at the environment. We're going to pay a lot of attention to what our TTRPG players and storytellers are telling us what they want. I'll get back to that. See the interest in the combined set of V5 or condensed set of V5 books to combine all the recent changes, all the updates that are in the player's guide, all the new information across a number of source books. It makes sense that we should at least look at consolidating some of that material in a different format. Maybe they're different. Maybe they're prestige versions. Maybe they're softcover versions. Maybe they're PDF and softcover together with a hardcover omnibus that follows later. I don't think we've made any decision about that yet. We owe it to our players and our storytellers to listen to what they're telling us about that. And if it's possible and it makes sense for the business, that's exactly what we should give them. The first game published under the reviewed banner of White Wolf will be the long-awaited Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 video game, currently slated for an October 2025 release. And that takes us to the end of the article. So what are my thoughts of all of this? Well, Whilst it's very reassuring that White Wolf are acknowledging that things do need to change, that they need to bring in the lore and the world building back into the world of Darkness and building more of a cohesive vision across all of its developing parties so it can please its fans and the business partners, which I think is a very interesting point to mention, is a good thing. It is ultimately a good thing, but at the same time there really isn't a lot to go off at the moment, because at the end of the day it is just words and it's just plans, and plans might not be action. They may go different ways, and of course they may go in like more lore savvy ways that I may not necessarily like. Also, what about Onyx Path Publishing? Because technically speaking they are still partners with White Wolf / Paradox, producing materials about that. What about Chronicles of Darkness, which I didn't mention in the previous video, but it's still the same, like whether it's World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness, how do they fit into this? Well, regarding World of Darkness, I don't think we're going to be seeing much more of them with this new and improved vision of White Wolf. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out sometime in the near future. But it also doesn't paint positive news for Chronicles of Darkness either, because there wasn't really much mention of that, because World of Darkness is the thing that sells well, and Chronicles of Darkness is where they're looking for additional source material. And I hate to be so negative about that, but the bit where I paused, it kind of rubs me the wrong way, just because I have known and seen just how dependent the feedback has been just on the perspective of the World of Darkness and the Renegade Discord servers, both of which I'm banned from now actually, so I can't give you anything more up to date than that. But from what I recall from both of them, the Renegade server was very frustrated about the lack of care in the World of Darkness printing side of things, and just how shoddy the edits were. And I have described the World of Darkness Discord server somewhat as a cult, where they'll happily take anything just because it's new material, just so it can appease the faces of the company, which I don't know if that's being considered or not. I don't even know if they share that fucking opinion with me, to be honest. I doubt they would. I don't think anybody would willfully admit that they've got something of a cult going on and then not do much about it. But I'm just a bit cautious, curious, apprehensive about where they're looking from fan feedback. Twitter, Blue Sky, the Discord. I mean, do they watch people like me who bash and shit on them with criticism, some of it more valid than others? I don't know. Would they listen to somebody like me? Because in the past they have not done very well with criticism, which I know kind of on a personal level, but that's a conversation for a different time. There's a lot of things to consider here, and you know, I'm being quite negative with this, which I know that people don't like me doing, because I've got to give rainbow and sunshines to White Wolf because it's going back to the old days, and it's not really. Like, there's all this talk about different versions of like hard and soft covers. Like, what difference is that going to make? Unless you're going to put your most recent books on Drive-Thru RPG and give people the option of doing a print on demand of soft and hardback formats. That would be really cool, because in all honesty, ordering stuff from Renegade is a fucking piss take, at least for me in the UK. Like, I can guarantee that I can get a book, like my order of books, within a week from Drive-Thru RPG, whereas Renegade, on my site, apparently the Sabat book, which came out a few years ago, is still pre-order. I know when you go on the site to say to purchase it, you can buy it, but look in my orders history, it doesn't say that. And I waited like a month for that to arrive as well. So if you are wanting to expand out with Drive-Thru RPG about making that available for people there, that would be great. I actually spoke to Jason Carl once about this many years ago. It was about the time the V5 Companion came out, actually, about making that more readily available, because not everybody was going to be aware of the Paradox site, which at the time was the only place you can get the V5 Companion. Now that stuff's in the Player's Companion and is a bit of a mute, albeit free resource for people. But if you're able to make these things available on Drive-Thru RPG and provide soft and hardcover print-on-demand versions of the core book and all the other source books, that would only just get you more money, and I don't see why you're not going to do that. That would be a wonderful thing to do. Personally, would that mean I would buy them? No, because I don't like the current 5th edition books. I stopped buying them with the Sabat and the Second Inquisition book because I pre-ordered them at the same time or thereabouts. But I can assure you, just by how well the PDFs sell on that site, particularly with the Storyteller's Vault, which is World of Darkness stuff exclusively. That's just a no-brainer to me personally, but there might be like a reason as to why you're not doing it, like a legal reason why that's not the case, but I don't know what that would be. But if you can do that, because that would be fucking fantastic. I don't know how you would present them, like the lore and the material, so it's easy for access. I suppose you would put that on your website, but again, putting that on Drive for RPG would make things a lot easier to grab onto as well. Going back a little bit with your books of the romance book that had a bit of controversy upon its release, you released a PDF regarding consenting gaming and all the rest of it, which sort of ignores a lot of the thing that Jacqueline Brick wrote for you back in 2018, I want to say, or 2017 for a 2018 release. That just gets lost on the Renegade site, and most of your fans won't realise this because that was a very Twitter-centric, well, Twitter and TikTok-centric thing. So basically, if you made it easier to get hold of your materials by diversifying things a lot more, because a lot of people just go to Drive for RPG because that's where you buy your fucking books from, or the Storyteller's Vault. Like, just making that stuff more easily accessible rather than on a very clunky site. And Paradox, where a lot of people aren't willing to sign up and give you the address for if it's not in their benefit to them, doing it with something that they trust, like Drive for RPG, would be a really cool thing to do, personally. And all the other free little handout tidbits that you've done wouldn't go amiss as well. And if you do like a lore document, like describing all the things that have gone throughout the years, like meta plot wise, and a little thing saying where the book comes, which book it comes from, again on Drive for RPG, that would be pretty neat. Personally, would I use it? Might do. I'd definitely look at it, just to see what it's like. But just making all these different pieces readily available rather than doing all these fancy soft and hardcover things. Like, as long as people can get hold of the books, then I think that's just a no fucking brainer for you, honestly. Sorry, rambling Drive through RPG rant aside, the point I'm trying to get at is that listen to all of the fans within the World of Darkness, not just the ones who love everything that you do on the World of Darkness Discord server, not all the horny bastards on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, all of them, and take everything with a pinch of salt, because I'm going to assume that a lot of this rebranding has come about through the survey that World of Darkness White Wolf had put out a few months ago, and I know there was a lot of people who were really frustrated, upset, angry, betrayed, whatever you want to put in here, with the general direction of things, with the community, how a lot of people weren't even aware that White Wolf wasn't a thing anymore, that it's now a World of Darkness. And I also know there was just been people who just wanted more changing Dark Ages and had nothing wrong with that. But in order for this to do well, I do think you need to consider every single voice within the room, because, yeah, sure, a lot of people are just going to be complaining, oh, World of Darkness has gone woke, go broke. We all know those people are fucking idiots, okay? We all know that those people have got nothing useful to say, and everything that comes out in their mouth is totally irrelevant and just fucking garbage. Those are the sort of people that you ignore. But everybody else who's got a gripe, a complaint and all the rest of it should be listened to, because those people have felt pushed and ostracized out of the World of Darkness space because of the space that you lot have cultivated, where lore is bad, metaplot is bad, and if you played old editions of Vampire or play it in a way that's not the 5th edition way, which is based upon a load of actual plays and melodramas and budget theatre kid stuff, then you're doing it wrong, and you are just a shitty power gamer, which is a very crappy take on things. And I know I've just haven't painted 5th edition fans in a particularly good light either, so you might want to take that with a bit of pinch of salt. So do listen to everyone, is what I'm going to say. So if this is going to become like 5th edition 0.1, 0.5, whatever you want to call it, which I'm not getting from this, honestly. I feel this is still leaning in the PR stunt of, we're calling this White Wolf because this is what everybody recognises, and we're bringing things in-house, which, what the fuck has the last 4 years been, if that's not been a bringing things in-house, because I remember very clearly that language being used. Yeah, you kind of need to prove yourself at this point, making it a World of Darkness, including the entire fan base. And if you're bringing it back to its roots, using family is not the best choice of word, because that's not a word that was used since the beginning, and it is a word that people do associate with the trolling and the bullying that I just described a moment ago. Personally, I haven't used that word for some time because I haven't felt part of this community, because I would go and voice critiques about the company and some of the books that you lot have put out, and the moment I start doing that, I start feeling like an outsider, because apparently that is wrong. I'm being negative, I'm being aggressive, and would you fucking look at that? The White Wolf is now coming back and doing all the things that has made World of Darkness special, and all the stuff that people have gone online complaining about me in Reddit posts and online, and you know, all the rest of it. So whilst I know I'm not going to get any apologies for essentially being right all this time, I have played the waiting game, and I'm going to wait a bit more just to see what happens next, because it's cool that, as I've said many times now, that Jason Carl and White Wolf are acknowledging that we need to make the brand more recognizable to fans and basically start bringing people back. Because whilst it's clear that it's doing well, they obviously want to make more money because they are a business. I kind of got the impression that people don't really recognize the brand anymore. So they want to make it more recognisable to the people who have either been pushed away or who have taken a vacation of sorts and now want to bring them back into the fold. So yeah, I'm not getting that this is a 5th edition .1 edition, just, again, another fucking change in direction for the 5th edition brand. Another sign that Paradox and or White Wolf don't really know what they're doing. Hopefully we're onto a good stretch here, folks, and we're going to be seeing some things that we can all like, or at least like a bit more than we've done with the last few books. And hey, if you want to throw any of your new books and materials my way to review, I will happily look at them, and I'll be open and honest about you lot sending them to me, and I'll give you my honest thoughts and opinions as I do with everything I do, because it's important to highlight the bad as well as the good, because you can then develop and mature and write cool, amazing shit, because despite all the ups and downs, I really do like the World of Darkness, funny enough. I love Vampire the Masquerade, and I want the company to do well, to do all the cool things that we know it can do, and I think these last 4 years they haven't done that, which I think this has been the most positive that I've been about the company so far, to be honest. Well, so far in the last 4 years. So yeah, if you want to throw some things my way to review as honestly as I can do that. Find my email, get in touch, and let's see what we can do. It might help me, you know, appreciate you a lot a bit more. I understand why you might not want to do that and how that might make me seem a little bit needy, but you know, reach out to all sorts of different fans and get all sorts of opinions back so it can grow and develop into the more recognisable beast that it once were. But yeah, that's enough about me rambling. What do you think about all of this? Like, good, bad, indifferent? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. What would you like White Wolf to do? Because if by some chance they find this video, probably going to be going through the comments, we're going to need some more thoughts and opinions to help them develop the games that we love so much. But I also understand there's going to be a fair amount of you that are just going to complain for the sake of complaining, that have been pushed away, which some of it's valid, some of it's not so valid. See the woke rant a few minutes ago, and I'm sorry for pinning that for the second time this video. But you know, let's see what we can do to help White Wolf, because they really want the fan feedback here, as we've talked about here, so give them the feedback. Nicely, respectfully. Don't abuse people, don't threaten violence, because I've never been about that on any level whatsoever. Let's just do things nicely, express your frustrations, express your joys, but let's make everything constructive and not be a general dick, right? Because the only person that's allowed to be a dickhead on this channel is your Lore Saviour. Because I don't foster it for anybody else. Rather, I don't encourage you lot to be dickheads. It's only me, and only me, always, he says, wanking the ego. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, do give it a little cheeky little thumbs up, subscribe to the Lore by Night channel, and share this video with any and everyone who loves what I do, and I'll see you on the next upload, whatever that may well be for you. Whether it be a cool lore dive, a book review, a little rant like this, an out about opening the air, rambling with my dogs, talking about this, that or the other, or some other how-to guide, or any other fucking random shit that I want to put together in a video that I think might benefit you as well as me. So, until next time, farewell.